The first time anyone saw the quiet cleaner carrying a mop through the polished marble halls of the city's largest corporate headquarters, they looked right through him. No one noticed the tired smile behind his simple uniform, the gentle way he greeted every employee, or the little photograph of a 6-year-old girl tucked carefully inside his pocket. They certainly never imagined that the man wiping fingerprints from the glass doors was the only son of the billionaire woman who owned the entire company. But sometimes the greatest fortunes hide behind the simplest clothes, and sometimes true love can only be found when every symbol of wealth is taken away. Before we begin this emotional journey, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes kindness can change lives, and subscribe to Heart Kindness Tales if you believe that second chances and genuine hearts are worth more than money. Your support helps us continue bringing inspiring stories like this one. Every morning before sunrise, Rowan Hale packed his daughter's lunch, braided her chestnut-colored hair with clumsy but determined hands, and kissed her forehead before driving her to school. His daughter, Elsie, was the brightest light left in his world after losing her mother to a sudden illness 3 years earlier. Since then, every decision Rowan made centered around one promise he whispered beside his wife's hospital bed: their little girl would grow up surrounded by love instead of loneliness. Rowan's mother, Celestine Hale, was one of the wealthiest businesswomen in the country. She had built Hale Global Industries from a struggling family business into an international empire worth billions. Newspapers admired her brilliance, television programs praised her discipline, and investors trusted every decision she made. Yet behind the success was a painful distance between mother and son. Celestine believed emotions complicated leadership. Rowan believed love made life meaningful. Their different values created years of quiet disagreements that never truly healed. Although Rowan officially owned enough company shares to live comfortably forever, he never cared about expensive cars or luxury homes. After his wife passed away, he became even more convinced that money solved very few of life's deepest problems. Watching people treat him differently whenever they recognized his family name made him wonder if anyone would ever care about him simply because he was himself. One evening, while helping Elsie finish her homework, she looked up with innocent curiosity and asked why people smiled differently at Grandma than they smiled at their school janitor, even though both greeted everyone kindly. The question stayed in Rowan's heart long after Elsie had fallen asleep. Children often uncovered truths adults ignored. The following week, Rowan visited his mother's office with an unusual request. He wanted permission to spend several months working anonymously inside Hale Global headquarters as part of the maintenance staff. He would receive no executive privileges, no special treatment, and no recognition. Only the head of security and his mother would know his true identity. Celestine laughed at first, believing the idea was foolish. But when she saw the determination in her son's eyes, she reluctantly agreed. Secretly, she also wondered whether the experiment might teach Rowan that success required respect earned through authority. She had no idea that the opposite lesson awaited both of them. On a bright Monday morning, Rowan walked into the headquarters wearing a navy blue cleaner's uniform, simple work shoes, and a name tag that read Ryan. Nobody recognized him. Executives rushed past without making eye contact. Junior employees accidentally bumped into him without apologizing. Some thanked him politely for his work, while others treated him as though he barely existed. Instead of feeling offended, Rowan quietly observed everything. He noticed which managers greeted every employee with respect and which only smiled when powerful people were watching. He discovered that character revealed itself most clearly when no reward could be gained. Among hundreds of employees, one person stood apart. Her name was Maris Quinn. Maris worked in the customer care department. She wasn't famous inside the company. She didn't hold an important title. Her salary barely covered rent for the small apartment she shared with her elderly grandmother. Yet every single morning she greeted security guards, receptionists, delivery drivers, cleaners, and interns with exactly the same warmth she offered senior executives. She often stayed after work helping coworkers complete impossible deadlines without asking for recognition. During lunch breaks she secretly left food vouchers on the desks of struggling employees who could not afford meals. Nobody knew the vouchers came from her because she never wanted anyone to feel embarrassed. The first time Rowan spoke with Maris happened after she noticed him struggling to carry heavy cleaning supplies upstairs because the service elevator had broken. Without hesitation she placed her own files on the floor and helped him lift every box. She thanked him for keeping the building beautiful and wished him a peaceful day. That tiny moment stayed with Rowan for hours. Not because she helped him. Because she looked directly into his eyes while speaking, making him feel seen. Over the next several weeks their paths crossed naturally. Sometimes Maris offered him coffee during long shifts. Sometimes Rowan quietly repaired broken office chairs before employees arrived. Sometimes they simply smiled while passing each other in the hallway. Neither realized those ordinary moments were slowly healing invisible wounds inside both of them. Maris carried her own quiet sadness. Years earlier she had been engaged to a successful entrepreneur who abandoned her after receiving a better business opportunity overseas. He left behind debts, broken promises, and painful lessons about people who valued ambition above loyalty. Since then she trusted actions more than impressive words. Meanwhile, Rowan never mentioned his wealth, family, or true identity. Instead, he listened to people's stories. He learned about workers struggling with medical bills, single parents juggling impossible schedules, interns afraid of making mistakes, and elderly maintenance employees worried about retirement. One afternoon Rowan found Maris sitting alone in the company garden, silently crying after learning her grandmother needed expensive heart treatment. She quickly wiped away her tears before anyone else noticed. Rowan wanted desperately to solve every problem with a single phone call. One signature from his mother could have covered every hospital expense immediately. But he feared revealing himself would destroy the honesty growing between them. Instead, he simply sat nearby and shared half of his homemade lunch that Elsie had insisted he pack extra that morning. They watched birds gather around the fountain while saying very little. Sometimes kindness required presence rather than solutions. As weeks turned into months, Rowan's heart changed. He no longer viewed the company as buildings, profits, or market reports. He saw thousands of human lives connected beneath one roof. He also realized his mother's empire had unknowingly developed a culture where titles often mattered more than compassion. The people cleaning offices before sunrise understood more about teamwork than some executives earning enormous salaries. Then everything changed. An expensive diamond bracelet disappeared during an executive conference. Security immediately reviewed camera footage and discovered Rowan had entered the conference room earlier that morning while cleaning. Rumors spread through the building within minutes. Several executives assumed the cleaner must have stolen it. Nobody asked for evidence. Nobody considered another possibility. Rowan remained calm while security searched his locker and personal belongings. Employees gathered nearby whispering cruel assumptions. Only Maris stepped forward. She reminded everyone that accusing someone without proof destroyed lives. She insisted Rowan deserved the same fairness offered to every executive. Even after managers warned her not to interfere, she refused to abandon someone she believed was innocent. Hours later another security recording revealed the bracelet had accidentally fallen inside a presentation case belonging to the executive who reported it missing. Rowan's name was cleared. No apology came from most of the people who judged him. But Maris quietly handed him a cup of tea and smiled as though protecting another person's dignity was simply the normal thing to do. That evening Rowan drove home overwhelmed with emotion. Elsie listened carefully while her father described the day's events. Then the little girl said something that left him speechless. She smiled gently and said that maybe the nicest people were the ones who defended others even when there was nothing to gain. Children often recognize treasures adults overlooked. A few days later Celestine asked Rowan whether he had learned enough and was finally ready to return to executive life. Instead, Rowan presented her with pages of handwritten observations about employee morale, unfair treatment toward support staff, missing healthcare benefits, and opportunities to build a kinder workplace. For the first time in years, Celestine didn't interrupt her son. She simply listened. His words slowly broke through decades of believing profits mattered more than people. Inspired by Rowan's experience, Celestine secretly approved major improvements across the company, including better wages for maintenance staff, expanded family healthcare, scholarship funds for employees' children, and anonymous emergency assistance for workers facing financial hardship. Still, Rowan delayed revealing his identity to Maris. Not because he enjoyed pretending. Because he feared losing the one relationship built without wealth standing between them. Fate, however, had other plans. The company's annual charity celebration arrived on a sunny Saturday afternoon. Every employee attended expecting another formal corporate event. When the master of ceremonies invited the billionaire owner's son onto the stage, complete silence filled the ballroom. Employees looked around in confusion. Then Rowan slowly walked onto the stage wearing an elegant suit instead of his cleaning uniform. Gasps echoed across the room. Maris stood frozen. Her hands trembled. For a heartbreaking moment she believed every friendship, every conversation, every shared smile had been built upon deception. Rowan addressed the audience with complete honesty. He admitted pretending to be a cleaner. He apologized for hiding the truth. Then he explained why he had done it. He spoke about loneliness disguised by luxury. He described how invisible many hardworking employees felt. He praised every cleaner, receptionist, technician, cafeteria worker, and security guard who quietly held the company together. Finally, he looked toward Maris with grateful eyes. He explained that one woman had reminded him genuine kindness expected nothing in return, defended strangers without fear, and treated every human being with equal dignity regardless of status. The ballroom remained silent. Many employees lowered their heads, remembering how they had treated the quiet cleaner months earlier. Maris walked outside before the applause ended. Rowan followed her into the sunlit garden where everything had begun. She wasn't angry because he was wealthy. She was hurt because he hadn't trusted her with the truth. Rowan admitted she deserved honesty from the beginning. He confessed that after years of wondering whether anyone could love him beyond his family name, fear had convinced him to keep pretending longer than he should have. Maris looked toward the blooming flowers surrounding the fountain. She realized every memory she treasured involved the humble man carrying cleaning supplies, sharing homemade lunches, talking about his daughter, and offering kindness without expecting praise. None of those memories were false. The man had always been real. Only his job title had been different. Several weeks later Maris visited Rowan's home. Instead of luxury impressing her, she found herself laughing with little Elsie while baking cookies in the kitchen. Watching Maris patiently help his daughter decorate each cookie with colorful icing, Rowan understood something no fortune could ever purchase. Home was not built with expensive walls. It was built with loving hearts. Months passed. Celestine transformed as well. She began visiting every department personally, learning employees' names instead of only reading reports about performance. She apologized publicly for allowing a culture that sometimes overlooked the humanity of its own workers. The changes inspired other executives to lead differently. Productivity increased. Employee satisfaction reached record levels. But the greatest success never appeared in financial statements. It appeared in everyday smiles. One warm spring afternoon Rowan and Maris married in a peaceful garden surrounded by employees from every level of the company. Cleaners stood beside executives. Receptionists laughed with directors. Security guards celebrated beside shareholders. Nobody occupied better seats than anyone else. Elsie scattered flower petals with joyful laughter before proudly holding Maris's hand as they walked together toward their new beginning. For Rowan, that moment fulfilled the promise he once made beside a hospital bed. His daughter would indeed grow up surrounded by love instead of loneliness. Before we finish this story, If it touched your heart even a little, please like this video, share it with your family and friends, leave a heartfelt comment, and subscribe to Heart Kindness Tales so more people can discover stories that remind us kindness is never wasted. Special request, please comment, kindness sees the heart. If you believe a person's true value should never be measured by their job, wealth, or appearance.